Afternoon, everyone. My name is Dale Ketchum with Space Florida, and I'm pleased to invite everybody, glad that everybody's here to join us as we celebrate the groundbreaking of the Airbus OneWeb spacecraft integration facility, which is something that's been very important to all of us. And I think clearly across the street from the Blue Origin majestic facility going up there, it's evidence of the fact that Exploration Park is not only the epicenter of commercial space on the planet, but it's also clearly becoming an upscale neighborhood, so we're pleased to be a part of it. First off, I want to extend my apologies for Frank DeBello, our CEO, for not being here. Frank, obviously, as most of you are aware, worked very hard to make this day possible, but Frank today is where he should be, which is with his wife following surgery, so he extends his apologies for not being here. Next, before I introduce the speakers, I want to identify some VIPs whose presence here certainly adds gravitas to the day. And I'm going to start with the category of the VIPs on the stage in a non-speaking role. And I'll start with Brigadier General Wayne Monteith, Commander of the 45th Space Wing at Patrick Air Force Base. Kelvin Manning, Associate Director of NASA KSC. Our very own Linda Weatherman, President and CEO of the EDC of Florida Space Coast. And Mr. John Saul, the Operations Manager for Hensel Phelps, who will be building the facility. Other VIPs that certainly warrant attention are Barbara Arthur, representing Florida's Senior Senator, Bill Nelson. Tom Self with Senator Rubio, new on the Appropriations Committee, yay! And Patrick Gavin, who is representing the face of Brevard County in the Congress of the United States, our own Bill Posey. Equally important to us, because they vote on our budget and we love them, Lindsay Swindell, representing Senator Huckel, and Margaret Mitchell, representing Debbie Mayfield. Also joining us is one of our sister port authorities, Commissioner Wayne Justice from Canaveral Port Authority. Also from Cape Canaveral is the Honorable Brendan McMillan. And from Melbourne, also serving on another sister port authority at the Melbourne International Airport, the Honorable Debbie Thomas. And we also were going to have Yvonne Minus. Did she show up from Melbourne? Very well. Also want to point out Mandy Vaughn with Virgin Orbit, who is going to be one of the companies launching OneWeb satellites. And if you haven't already seen our shuttle landing facility, we'd be happy to introduce you to it. And finally, Alan Hyman, who's Director of Transportation Operations at the Florida Department of Transportation. And I would be remiss if I did not introduce to you our favorite board member of the Space Florida Board of Directors, Mr. Jason Steele. Now to the business at hand. Since this is a celebration of yet more jobs and high technology to grow Florida's future, it makes sense that I introduce a man who needs no introduction, the Governor of the great state of Florida, Governor Rick Scott.
Well, this might be a little bit windy and a little cooler than we want, but we're not having a northeaster, and we don't have 15 inches of snow, so it's still much better weather than what's up north. So I want to thank everybody for being here. This is exciting because we're talking about jobs, and we're talking about high-paying jobs and high-tech jobs. And so it's exciting. When I first met Craig Weiler a few years ago, talked about what he's trying to do. It was pretty exciting about this idea. You know, I travel the state every day. This is my third city today. And if you go around the state, everybody cares about jobs. I don't meet anybody that doesn't care about jobs. We are blessed. In the last year, we've added about 240,000 jobs. Just in the month of January, we added 50,000 jobs. So this state's on a roll. Our job growth rate is double the national numbers. In the last 6 years, we've added 1.3 million jobs, and what we're announcing today will even add to that. So I want to congratulate OneWeb for what they're going to try to do, and I know they're going to be very successful at it, is affordable, high-speed internet to communities all across the world, which will be remarkable when it happens. I also want to congratulate them on their announcement last week, their announcement with Blue Origin, where they're going to use the Blue Origin New Glenn rockets right here at Space Florida's Exploration Park, so congratulations on that. But what's exciting today is this groundbreaking and the fact that there'll be 250 new high-paying jobs right here. I want to thank everybody that's been involved, from Space Florida to Enterprise Florida to local economic developments, Linda's group. Everybody has worked really hard, the county, and I just want to congratulate everybody, and I look forward to when this is finished, and hopefully they'll be so successful to have to double it and triple it and quadruple it, and we'll have thousands of jobs. So have a great day.
Thank you, Governor. Next, I want to introduce Mike Constantino with Airbus Defense and Space. It's great that we were able to get Airbus involved here. We've been anxious to get them. Obviously, they're a massive, major international aerospace company, and their presence here certainly adds to the gravitas of Exploration Park. So, Mike?
Thank you all. I knew I forgot my sunglasses this morning when I was getting on the airplane, but I didn't know I was going to need an overcoat. But it's wonderful to be here to represent Airbus today. Thank you all very much, and especially all the people on the stage, all the people that the governor mentioned, the governor himself. If not for all the people working hard in Florida, we would not have this day here today. So thank you all for everything you have done. This is not the first time Airbus has been part of a new venture in the U.S. 40 years ago, we opened up a small office, maybe a dozen people, and no one knew who Airbus was. But we've grown over time. Today, we have almost 4,000 employees in the United States, but we do so much business in the U.S. that we affect 250,000 people daily. They relate to Airbus and Airbus products in the U.S. Last year, we spent $17 billion in buying products in the U.S. for our products that we build back in Europe. So today is just like the previous programs we've worked on. We make helicopters today for the U.S. Army in Columbus, Mississippi. Before we even won the contract, we invested in that facility and in that state. And then we decided that Mobile, Alabama was an outstanding place to build commercial aircraft. And we worked with the state of Alabama, and just like here in the state of Florida, where we found friends and people worked with us, we built a final assembly line for our 320 commercial aircraft, and the first one rolled out of that building last year, and we're going to build up to 4 a month when we get to rate. So now we come to the OneWeb satellite, and we're ecstatic and happy to be part of this venture with the OneWeb folks. And though I'm not as exciting a speaker as Brian will be, and he'll tell you all about that, we think this is a new opportunity for the consumer and possibly the warfighter as well. So Airbus is committed to jobs and importing jobs to the U.S., high-paying jobs, and we're committed to this venture. So thank you very much.
Next up, as Mike identified, is going to be the CEO, the big dog of the facility that we're celebrating today, Brian Holtz. He's going to be in charge of the facility that's going to be cranking out satellites, hundreds of them, to provide wideband bandwidth for all over the world, in helping it to bring internet capability to the poorest regions of the planet where they've never had any before. So it's a real philanthropic as well as an entrepreneurial endeavor. But no pressure, Brian. So.
This is another sunny day, so let's hope that continues. Before I get started, I have to make a quick comment. When we did the announcement last April, I think it was, that we were going to locate the business here in Florida, I made a comment about donut shops and the fact that we needed one here. And I got so many emails after that from the local press and local community members with recommendations on various donut shops here. So I can attest that I tried every single one of them. And Governor, the donut shop may be a bad investment here because there's plenty around. What we really need now is a gym. All right, good. Back to business at hand. OneWeb has a vision to bridge the digital divide by 2025. And the opportunity that the state of Florida, led by Governor Scott, is giving us today is the opportunity to build a state-of-the-art factory on this site. And we'll produce over 2,000 satellites, largely to be flown in LEO, low Earth orbit, to be a key kingpin in that architecture. That's going to allow us a foundation with new automation techniques to lower the cost of satellite delivery, to also shorten the schedules for our customer and create value that is not in the industry today. We'll be able to deliver on unprecedented schedule at cost points for the capability that we have that nobody can do today. And that's going to create new innovation, new ideas, and new opportunities for even more jobs than we're committed to here on the Space Coast. The second piece of OneWeb's vision is connecting schools. We have a vision of connecting 2 million schools around the world, and we also want to make sure that we put our words and actions where our initiatives are. So OneWeb Satellites this year is going to start an initiative where we work to connect a school in Brevard County to a school in Toulouse, France, where our other operation is, using satellite capability, and then as OneWeb deploys, we'll move over to OneWeb capacity to create education experiences over satellites. Finally, we're creating a lot of partnerships in the area. Governor Scott mentioned that OneWeb recently announced the opportunity to team up with Blue Origin, another new company coming to the area, to launch satellites from right here in Kennedy. That's going to be a linchpin in how we go forward long term. We hope to do a lot more of that. Greg also mentioned that he talked with Mr. Bezos about building a zip line between the two factories, so I told him I get first ride. We're also working with some partners that are helping us build the satellites. Some of you may know that RUAG, who's a Swiss company located in Titusville, and they're bringing about 50 high-tech jobs to the area. But one thing that they're really taking an initiative on, and Blue Origin's participating in it, ourselves, some of the entrenched companies around the area, including Harris, and working with EDC to create a new apprenticeship program to help retrain people into the technologies and techniques we need to support the industry, the new industry moving into the area. So that's a great initiative. And finally, I just want to thank the governor and his leadership, Enterprise Florida, and Space Florida for making this opportunity real. I want to make it real clear. You need the support that those three bodies gave us to create the opportunity that we're working on today. It's really important that the state continue to do that. It was real competitive for us in the process of deciding to locate here. We had 7 states bid for this factory. We had 4 countries bid for this factory. And if it weren't for the governor, Space Florida and the team there, and Enterprise Florida, we wouldn't be here today. So as you consider priorities in your state budget and how you move forward, I would recommend that you keep those programs active. It's also going to help us relocate some of our suppliers into this area as well. We want to do that. You have a very, very big opportunity in this area with the new space initiatives to secure a long-term future and create lots of jobs here. So we'll do whatever we can to help support those initiatives. So thank you today for this grand day of putting the first shovels into the earth. And we'll end up with a factory here. We'll invite you all back in about a year's time to come and see the building, see the assembly lines that are in there. We'll be producing 1 satellite per line per shift, unprecedented capability. And again, I'll mention the cost benefits of that and the schedule advantages. We'll be able to deliver large programs to customers inside a physical year. And that's going to be really, really cool and transform the industry. So thank you very much for coming today. Enjoy the day, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
And following up on Brian's comments about the state of Florida and the programs that it uses, I would now like to introduce Sissy Proctor, who's the Executive Director of the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. And many of you might not be aware of her, but she's very much responsible for the process that we all go through to helping events like today occur. She's responsible for seeing to it that it comes together. So, Sissy?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for having us here today. It really is an honor to be here with everyone up on the stage and in the audience. There's so many friendly faces, and it takes all of us together to make events like today happen. To be able to break ground on such an amazing facility right across the street from another amazing facility is really important to us at the state of Florida. I know to you all here locally, and also to the space industry as a whole. As the Space Coast continues to be the gateway into space, it's important to see, and we love to see, the partnership between NASA and the state of Florida and the private sector as innovation and investment comes together in such a strong way. And with the talented workforce that's here in Brevard, as well as the strong infrastructure, the Cape and the Space Coast really is becoming the place that businesses have to be if they want to go into space. And our aerospace industry really is flourishing again, and it's thanks again to this private sector investment as well as innovation that companies like OneWeb are choosing to do here in our great state, along with our Governor Scott's commitment to commercializing Florida's space industry, as well as growing Florida's manufacturing foothold by continuing to keep laser focused on a competitive business environment here in Florida, as well as cutting taxes, of course. And this commitment really is working. In the last year, Florida led the nation in the number of jobs that were gained in the manufacturing industry, with the creation of over 11,000 new jobs in Florida. And our competitors are Kentucky and Tennessee and Georgia, all to our north, in the southeast, and we are beating all of them, but they continue to knock at our door, and that's why it's so important that we have such strong relationships with Enterprise Florida and Space Florida and the private sector industry. And the number of manufacturing jobs as well as companies that are going to continue to locate here in Florida will continue to climb as we welcome the new member to Exploration Park today. The satellite manufacturing facility will create 250 new jobs, invest more than $85 million, and continue to strengthen and diversify our economy. This is great news for job seekers and businesses here locally as well as across the entire state. So I'm excited for OneWeb's future and the impact it's going to have on this community. So congratulations, and thank you again for having us here today to celebrate this awesome event.
And last but not least, I want to introduce our own Space Florida's own Jim Kuzma. Jim is the Chief Operating Officer and the Director of the Cape Canaveral Spaceport. He is not Frank DeBello, but he is taller. Jim?
Thanks, Dale, and thank you, Governor Scott. Thank you for your leadership and work on behalf of Florida's aerospace industry and the Cape Canaveral Spaceport. The evidence of your success is seen all around us today as we gather to celebrate another achievement in bringing jobs and world-leading technology to Exploration Park and Florida's Space Coast. Mike and Brian, it's definitely time to get to work. The groundbreaking today for our Airbus OneWeb spacecraft integration facility marks a new chapter in the evolution of the satellite industry. It marks a milestone and a key in our partner's mission to vastly expand the connected world. We are proud for the Cape Canaveral Spaceport to serve as a key enabler of that dream. Our partner selected Exploration Park as the best location in the world for their production, for a satellite constellation that promises to improve lives across the planet. We are honored. The project offers the latest signpost that the Cape Canaveral Spaceport will achieve its vision of being a global leader in space commerce throughout the 21st century and beyond. That vision was described by Frank DeBello at last year's National Space Club. We've since published an updated Cape Canaveral Spaceport Master Plan and will continue our efforts to collaborate with our federal partners joining us today. Together, we share a common interest and commitment to see the spaceport serve as the world's leading spaceport for the future. I know Frank regrets not being able to be here with us today, but he's certainly here with us with his enthusiasm for this moment and appreciation for what it means to Florida in the role of global space marketplace. On Frank's behalf, I extend Space Florida's sincerest thanks to the leadership of our federal partners, General Wayne Monteith and Director Bob Comanda. Without their efforts to enable and support Space Florida, work here within the commercial space industry, projects like this would not be possible here at the spaceport. We all look to a future of increasing commercial space launch activity and multi-sector reliance on our spaceport capabilities. We know we can continue to count on the engagement and support. Thank you. As you know, Governor, guests, 2 milestone events sealed Florida's permanent engagement as an invested stakeholder in the nation's military and civilian efforts to explore and use the space frontier. Those events were the selection of Cape Canaveral as the nation's long-range proving ground for missile-based systems and NASA's selection of the adjoining Merritt Island property for its human space exploration. Beyond the legacy of military and NASA missions, Florida has a space legacy connecting people of the world throughout its orbiting spacecraft that dates back to the very first commercial telecommunication satellite, Intelsat-1, which was launched in 1965 from the Cape's Complex 17. Today, only the Cape Canaveral Spaceport can say the satellites that are going to be made here will be launched on rockets from there by Blue Origin at Launch Complex 36 or flown off the shuttle landing facility. Here today, we see the evolving nature that the satellite industry legacy operator Intelsat and the new generation operator OneWeb look to join forces. Together, they face a global market that many at last week's Satellite 2017 convention said will just continue to grow. As we break ground today on this project, bearing witness to the growth in global space commerce, we again thank our federal partners for their support. We thank our congressional staffs and legislative staffs for their support. And we thank our client, Airbus OneWeb, for your confidence in Cape Canaveral Spaceport and wish you all the success in achieving your vision of a connected planet. Thank you.
And with that, we're going to ask Brian, since it's your facility, if you'll lead us all to the formal turning of the dirt. Yes. And with that, you're not going to hear anything from up here anymore, so feel free to watch and mingle and eat. And thank you all for coming.